Only one participant is there, right? Amit Deshapriya. Can you hear me?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. Students know about the time, right? I changed it to 9:30.
Some people are coming soon, I think.
Okay, okay. Guys, how clear is the document camera? Can you guys see the letters? Can you guys hear me? Hello. Amit Deshapriya, can you hear me? You
Yes,
can hear me,
we
right?
can see clearly.
Ah, yeah, okay. Only 6 participants are there. Okay, the time is 9:32. We can start. There's only 9 participants. Uh, okay. You guys can see the screen, right? Tirina, can you see the screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, we'll start. Are there any these Zoom windows? Are they visible or are they like black boxes in your screen?
No, sir. Only the slide is visible.
Ah, okay, okay. Okay, so in today's lecture, we are going to talk about mechanical design of transmission line. Actually, this mechanical design is very, very important. So, because there are some regulations and there are some things we need to comply because in the mechanical design, we are mainly going to talk about uh, clearances, sag, and cable length and the cost. The clearances is the most important one because these things are uh, given to us by the authorities. So we can't go below those allowed clearances. Uh, so we need to make sure everything is up to standards. So now I will share the document screen. Can you guys see the documents?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I think I explained these things in the first lecture also. So this is a transmission, like a, let's say it's a cross section of a tower. So we have the conductor and two towers, and these are the insulators, and these are the terms we need to know. So the distance between two towers is called the span. So we need to know that, and the clearance is the distance between the lowest point of the conductor and the ground. So we have to worry about this clearance, and this is the conductor, and sag is the distance between this imaginary span line and the lowest point of the conductor. So in these conductors, there's always tension acting on the conductor. So so if you take the if you take components of the tension, it will give you something like this. So the cable weight is in the downwards, and tension is along the conductor. It is a tangential component, so it is along the component along the conductor. And when we have tangential things, we also normally take components, xy components. So in tension, we usually take the horizontal tension and the vertical tension. So these are the things you need to know before going to the things we are going to discuss in the lecture. And in this lecture, I am not going to go to derivation of equations, but in the syllabus, you guys are you should know the derivations, but derivations are bit hard. So in today's lecture, I'm going to directly go to calculations. So after doing the calculations, you guys will get confident about this mechanical design, because I know you guys are electrical, so mechanical stuff are not we are not very familiar with them. So first we will do some questions while go through the lecture in the next lecture. So we have two lectures for this mechanical design. In the second lecture, I'm going to derive all the equations, and then you will get the understanding about how these mechanical stresses and things will work on these conductors. So so again, coming back to tension, so we have two components of tension acting on the line. Okay. So this vertical tension components, those are upward. So those are compensated by the weight. But this horizontal tension, so this horizontal tension is actually a bit bad for conductors, because due to this horizontal tension, that line can break in the middle. So we are going to analyze these things in this lecture. So this lecture will be just an introduction to these things. So while going through the examples, you will understand how these things work. Okay, so when it comes to conductors, overhead conductors, we need to know the types we are using in Sri Lanka, and these are the major types. So we have AAC, all aluminum conductors, and triple AC, all aluminum alloy conductors, and ACSR, aluminum conductor steel reinforced, and ACSR, aluminum alloy conductors, is still reinforced. And so I have uploaded a document to your course web. So if you go to course web, you can see these three documents. So these two are from Kalani and this is from ACL. This ACL document is very good because they have all the information you need to do the calculations in this lecture. So this is the ACL document. I hope all of you can see this. Till now, are you seeing the document?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we are going to refer to this document throughout all the calculations we are going to do in this lecture. And so going back to the lecture, okay, I did show you the conductor types. Okay, so in this document, they have listed all the conductor types they have. I think so. They have ACSR, triple AC, AAC, and in ACSR there are some other variants also. See, so most of these have same cross section areas and current capacities, but there are some differences due to the standards they are referred on. So you guys don't have to worry that much about them. So in the exam questions, I will give you the conductor types you need to refer to answer that question. Okay, so we have we talked about the conductor types, and so when it comes to mechanical designs, and these are strings, so the conductors are strings. We need to talk about conductor expansions. So these are like very basic things. I think you all also already study these things in the advanced level. So you know the stress is cable tension. The stress is tension over area. So when it comes to transmission lines, the conductor stress is cable tension over cross section area. So earlier I mentioned that our the horizontal tension component is the worst, uh, because that will, if that exceeds, so that if that exceeds a certain value, that the conductor will tend to break. So in these in the questions we are going to do in this lecture, we need to assume that cable tension is equal to horizontal tension, horizontal component of the tension. So that is the assumption we are going to take throughout all the questions you are going to answer in this lecture. And after finding the stress, you can find elongation of the conductor. So I am just going through these things because I know you guys have already learned these things, and you guys need to remember these things when it comes to transmission line mechanical design. And I thought of doing the tutorial within the lecture, because this lecture is a very small one. There's not a lot to do in this lecture. So I have included a small question. So this will help you to understand how we are going to refer to the cable manual and do a calculation. So in this question, it asks about a triple AC opal conductor, and tension is given, and you have to calculate stress and elongation. And this is a 200-meter long conductor. And so as I said earlier, we need to consider this tension as the horizontal tension, but the given tension is for this is the tangential tension, which is acting uh, perpendicular to the cross section of the conductor, but we are going to take that whole thing as the horizontal component. So we are considering the worst case. So you need to remember that we are going to consider the worst case for every design we are going to do. So I'm going to show you how to find the things you require for this design. And in here, we are asked to find the stress and elongation, and the hint is given. You have to refer to page 33 of ACL cable manual. So let's recheck the equations. So we have stress equation. We have to know the cable tension and the cable cross section area. The tension is already given in this question. It is 12 kilonewton, and cross section area we have to find from the uh, cable manual, and then we have to calculate the elongation. So elongation is conductor stress over Young's modulus. So you have to find the Young's modulus. Conductor stress we can calculate using the previous data. So I will show you how to find the data you need to do this calculation. Okay. So we have the opal conductor. So yeah, I'm in that page. So if you need to find the opal, if other conductor, you just have to search. So if I search opal, it will come to opal. Okay. So in the opal conductor, there are two search results. So the first one, it is giving physical and mechanical characteristics. So we are going to refer to that in here. So the other result is the electrical characteristics. So this ACL manual is very, very good because they are giving us everything we need. Okay. So what are the things we needed to know? So we needed to know the area of the conductor. So area of the conductor we can find from here. This is calculated area. So this is the area of the conductor. And there was some other thing we need to find. For the elongation we need to have Young's modulus. So for the Young's modulus, I think it is also given in this yes modulus of elasticity. So it is the Young's modulus, the same thing. Modulus of elasticity and the Young's modulus are the same thing. And so it is given. It is 56 gigapascal. So working out the question. So we found these things from the cable manual, and you can calculate the stress. So stress will be 76.13 megapixels, and there are some other thing. So you have to worry about this cable stress because there's something called ultimate tensile strength, UTS. I think you guys learned these things in mechanics in your first year, or material engineering. One of those subjects you guys learn this ultimate tensile strength, because this is the strength that cable will break. So when you are designing a conductor, I have given everything in the lecture. So usually you need to keep your stress about 20% of the ultimate tensile strength. So in here, the normally triple AC conductors will have a varying UTS. It is 230 to 280 MPa usually. Actually, for a conductor, you can also find that from the cable manual. So what you have to do is, just in this conductor, they have given the breaking load. You just have to divide this breaking load from the calculated area. So if you divide these two, you will get the ultimate tensile strength. So that's how you are going to find out that. But if the tensile strength is given in the question, use that. Do not do this calculation because it is not given. Because sometimes it can change, but usually if you divide breaking load by this value, it will give you the UTS of the conductor. So usually we need to keep this stress on the conductor less than 20%, or we are saying uh, 5 we are keeping a safe margin of 5. So 20% means 1 over 20% is 5. So we are keeping a safe margin of 5. So but in this case, this conductor is loaded to 27%. So if you divide this by 280, it will give you 27%. It is bit high, but not very high. Usually when you are doing a design in the assignment, you will have to do this design. You need to keep the stress of the conductor about 20%. Maybe in the questions I will ask you to keep a safety margin of 2. That means you can go up to 50% of the UTS, or the 50% of the braking strength. Braking strength, I think we already saw that braking strength is given in the braking load. Braking load is given in the physical characteristics of the conductor in the table. Okay. So that's how you find out the stress of a conductor. And after that, so in this question, you are already also asked to find the elongation. So to find out the elongation, you have a small equation, elongation conductor stress over Young's modulus. And if you need to find out, we have the Young's modulus from the table. And to find out the elongation, you just have to divide the strength stress from the Young's modulus, and elongation will be this amount, but this amount is times. So this is 0.00136. So the cable will elongate 0.00136 times the original length. So that's how you calculate the elongation. So elongation for this conductor will be 200 times 200 into this times, and it will give you around 27 centimeters. So that's how you do a cable expansion calculation with the stress. So this is not the only expansion type happening in a conductor. So the next one is thermal expansion. So this is also, I know you guys did in your advanced levels. So we have thermal expansion coefficients, and same thing applies to transmission lines. These are the coefficients usually we have, but sometimes in the cable manual this is also given for some cable. So if this is given, you can use that one. See, in here for this cable, the cables refer to this standard. This is an Australian standard, and so for this standard, they have also given the coefficients of linear expansion. So this is per Celsius, and if this is not given, so these are very close. See, 19.3. This is for ACSR. Usually ACSR it is 20. We take 20. So if the thermal expansion coefficients are not given, use these values. If they are given, you can find these from these tables. But for the cable, we are going to do the design. Okay, for the we already did the design for thermal mechanical expansion. So for that cable, there's no thermal expansion coefficient given. So for that, you can just take the values I have given. Okay. So I am so actually so in this lecture, I am going to do most of the calculations you will come across the exams, because this mechanical design of the transmission line is it is a very theoretical subject. So there are a lot of equations, and you will come to them later. So those equations are there are some mathematics involved to derive them. So I am not going to go through mathematics in this lecture, but in the next lecture I will do all the mathematics and theories related to this. I am going to questions in this lecture, because you will get confused, and you will find it very hard to study this mechanical expansion if I go through the theoretical content first. So that's why I'm doing all the questions in this lecture. Okay. So I have also given a example for thermal expansion. So in here it is saying the same conductor. We are considering the same conductor, opal, and this cable is tension to 12 kilonewtons, and it is at 25 C, and with the loading conditions. So if the cable is loaded, the cable temperature will go up to 65 C. So this is a very easy calculation. So they are asking about elongation. So we can use the values given in here, and do a small calculation and find out elongation. So I'm not going to explain this because this is very easy thing. So you just have to multiply the delta t, that means the temperature difference. So it is 25C here, and the starting temperature is 25C and the ending temperature is 65. The delta t is 40. So you just have to multiply the coefficient by 40 degrees, and you have to get the elongation uh, per unit. This is a per unit value, so it will elongate these times from the original value. So you just have to multiply that from the original value and find out the answer. So I'm not going to discuss this because you already know these things. Okay, now we are coming to the hard stuff. And so this is the catenary curve. So this is the shape of a conductor. So this is a shape of the overhead transmission line we are having in our surrounding. So this is actually not a parabola. This is a catenary because this curve lacks some characteristics which has which is a parabola. So this is a catenary curve. This is called especially a catenary curve. So we are going to uh, derive equations from this catenary curve to use in this transition line lecture. But today we are not going to derive that. We are going to derive them in the next week. Today we are just going to get to know the equations and use them to calculate the values we need. Okay. Okay. So in real life, these transmission lines are not in equal levels. So okay, so usually transmission lines, you can't find them in equal levels. You will always get something like this. So these two heights are not equal. If this is h1, this is h2. So but in this uh, equation, it considers a equal level supports. That means h1 equals h2 from the h2 for the transmission line. So if you consider equal supports, so you can use this equation to calculate the sag. So actually deriving this equation is this equation involves a bit mathematics, so I am not going to derive that. So we are going to directly use this equation to uh, find out sag of the conductor. So you will understand while going through the examples how we are going to use this. So in here, so the sag, we are normally indicating it from D, and here I have included H. Actually the H is horizontal tension, but you may remember I told you that the total tension, we are going to consider the total tension as the H, considering a worst case. And here the H is from Newton, and here you have W. W is the unit weight of the conductor. Usually you have to, for the equation, you have to apply it from Newton meters, but usually in the questions it will be given using kilograms. So kilograms per km. So if you see the cable manual, see, this is the approximate mass, and it is given in kg per kilometer. So you are going to use this value to calculate newtons per meter value. So it is a very small calculation. You can do that and apply the values in this equation. And here this is the span. So L is the span. So I already talked to you about span. Span is the distance between two two towers. We can say two towers, because this in here you will see a gap between this isolator and the tower, but usually these things are horizontal. So these things, so the isolators will be in this point. So the total span is uh, between two towers. Okay, so this is horizontal distance. The span is horizontal distance. You have to use that value in the equation. Okay, so we are going to try a small example from this. Okay, so these are the only things you are going to get in a exam paper. And so this question says, the find out the sag of 200-meter span of opal conductor tension to 12 to make kilonewtons. And also the page of the ACL cable manual is given. So you can refer to any cable manual, but in Sri Lanka, the ACL one is the good one we can use to do calculations. So we have the equation. So what are the things we need? We need to find the horizontal tension. This is the tension, this is actually T. So horizontal tension, we are equating this to horizontal tension to consider the worst case. And we need to find the W, and we need to find the L is also given. So very easy uh, straightforward question. So the only thing we need to find is W. So this is the opal conductor. So W is given as 433 kilograms per kilometer. So to convert this to newtons per meter, you will have to do a small calculation. So it is the weight is given as 433 kilograms per kilometer. So to convert this to newton meters, you just have to multiply this by 9.81, because that is the G, and divide it by 1000. So N will be W will be 4.24 newtons per meter, but we can take it as 4.25. So this is 4.25 newtons per meter. So if you are going to apply all those things to this equation, you will get something like this. And after applying, you can find out what is the D, or the sag of the conductor. So you have to assume that horizontal tension is always equal to the total tension of the conductor. So this is the worst case. And the second equation we can get from the catenary curve is the line length. So line length is not equal to the span, because, so you can clearly see it by this. Span is the horizontal distance, the line length is the length of the conductor. So we can also find that using that equation. So for that we can use this equation, but usually in questions you are not going to find this line length, because it is not a very important factor, because the line length does not vary that much. So you will understand this when you are doing the example I have given. So the example 4, so the I have already done the calculation here. So you have to find out the line length for 200 meters span of opal tension to kilonewton. So so for the line length we need to find out W, the same things we needed to find the sag, and you can just apply those things and you will get 200, only 40 centimeters longer than the initial span. So that's how the you can find out this line length for a conductor. And so if you guys have any questions, you can ask. Okay. Okay. So now, so we had that this is the equation for sag. So it has the cosh terms. So having cosh terms is not that difficult, but we can just simplify the equation using the Taylor expansion. So I think you all know what is Taylor expansion is. So Taylor expansion for cosh will go like this. And for this in this Taylor expansion, so these terms are very small, so we are going to ignore these things. So we are only going to consider the first two terms of the tail expansion. So if you can apply so if you apply that to here, so the 1 and 1 will cancel out and you will get the equation like this. So you can do the maths at your home, math part at your home, so you will get this equation. And so to check the accuracy of this equation, we are going to try the example 3 with this equation. So you guys remember the example 3. So we have to find out the sag of opal conductor, tension to 12 kilonewtons for 200 meters. So in here, so if you use the equation to the approximated equation to the calculation, so the approximated equation is d equals WL squared over 8h, and so we found those things in the earlier example. So the W is 4.25 and the length is 200 square, and B 8 into 12 kilonewton. So the B you will get it as 1.7708. So this is the answer you will get if you do the calculation. So let's compare that with the value we got for the previous equation. See, for the previous equation we got the value as 1.771. For the current, so using the approximate formula, we got 1.7708. So in the exam, you do not need to use the Cauchy equation. You can just use the approximated equation to do the calculations, because these things are a small part of the large design you are going to have in the examination or the assignment. So your assignment will be published in upcoming weeks, so you have to submit it I think 2 weeks prior to your final exam. It will be a little bit larger example, so you can use these things uh, in your assignment. Okay. So now we are coming to the designing of height of the tower. So we now calculated all the sags, and using the sag we can calculate the clearance. So to have the appropriate clearance, we are going to design the height of the tower. So to design the height of the tower, you need to add uh, add all those things to decide the height of the tower you need. So, the clearance, so first you need the clearance. So this is given in the regulation or the design requirement given it to you by the CEB. In Sri Lanka, CEB has the transmission monopoly, so they will be specifying you the clearance that they need. Usually it depends on the voltage of the line, usually 20 meters. Those things will be given design requirements they are giving to you. And so then you have to add the sag to the clearance. So you are adding the sag to that clearance, and then you have SA. SA is the length of the insulator suspension set. So we are going to study about this insulator calculations I think after 2 lectures. So we will also see that. So these lengths you will calculate, and SB. So these are the usually clearances between these cross arms. So this is the transmission line. So these are the cross arms. So you have to have clearances between cross arms, and this clearance usually you don't have to consider sag here, because this is the point of joint. So in here you don't have a sag. So you just need to have uh, the clearance between two cross arms. And again we have the insulator length, and again the cross arm clearances, and after everything you will have the clearance to earth wire. So in the transmission line, the top wire is earth wire. So if you see a transmission line, so this transmission line has two circuits. So this is a single in one side it has a one circuit, and the other side it has another circuit. Usually uh, you can't say this is a double circuit, because double circuit means it is completely different two circuits. So maybe this can be a parallel circuit or double circuit. So therefore if you see a transmission line like that, you can't say it is a double circuit transmission line. There are so there are transmission lines with 4 circuits also. So in Sri Lanka I haven't seen them, but there are very large transmission line towers. Okay, so overall transmission line height will be given by this equation. So after studying everything you have in this lecture, you will able to find out the height of the tower you need. Okay, so now we talked about this. So we have we do not have equal levels of supports in real life. So usually so because of that we define some other spans, because usually span is the horizontal distance between towers, but due to this not equal supports, we have to derive some other spans also. So we have wingspan. Wingspan is the average of two adjacent average length of two adjacent transmission line towers spans, transmission line spans, and the weight span is the distance between the sag points of the transmission lines. Okay, and if you have a very long long transmission line, you can have the equivalent span of the transmission line using this equation. Okay. Okay, so now we are coming to the finding of sag for different support levels. So for this, these equations are a bit different. We are going to actually not very difficult. We are going to derive these equations from the equation we learned for sag, mainly from this equation. So let's derive them, because these things are very easy to derive. Okay. So so let's consider this figure. So you have two supports which is with different heights. So and so in different level supports there are two sag distances. So we are defining one sag to the shorter tower, and the other sag to the taller tower. So to calculate those things, we can use these two equations. So I am now going to derive these two equations from the uh, earlier parabolic approximation of sag equation. Okay. So you all remember, so few minutes earlier we talked about this sag equation, which is WL squared over 8H. So you have two different heights for your transmission line. So your conductor will have some shape like this. Okay. So let's say our sag point is located here. So the distance to sag point from the shorter tower is x1. Distance to sag point from the longer tower is x2. So what we are going to do here is we are going to consider imaginary equal level towers for these two towers. So for the larger one, we are going to have an imaginary equal length tower from 2x2 distance from the original tower. So this will be located somewhere here. So the length of this tower will be equal to this one, and this will be the imaginary tower for this tower. So the in the middle point there's the sag point. So now you can just apply the equation to find the sag. So this distance, you can just apply this equation to find this distance. So I will take this as d2. So now this is L. So you have to know L to find the sag of this tower. So in this case, the L is equal to 2x2 because we took equal lengths between these among equal lengths to both directions from the sag points to define this imaginary tower. So our L is 2x2. So this distance is 2x2. So now we are going to apply that to the equation. So d2 equals w 2x2 squared over 8h. So you know h is horizontal tension, but in the worst case we are going to use that as line tension, which is T. So I'm going to use T here. So it assume H equals T, and so after expanding these things you will get 4x is 2x squared over 8t. So this will cancel out. Okay. Wx2 is squared over 2t. So that is the equation we have in this lecture. So for d2 we can derive that equation from this equation. As similar to that, you can also derive get a imaginary equal length support to this. Let's say it is coming from here, and this distance is x1. So similar thing you can do to here. So the L for that these two equal length towers will be 2x1. So after applying this, you will get d1 as wx1 squared over 2t. Okay, that's how you are going to define equation for different support levels. Okay, and so maybe you are thinking now, so we need to know where the middle point is, right? So if you have two different supports, you have no idea where the sag point is to find out this x1 and x2 distances. To get them, we have another two equations. So we can also derive these equations very easily, but you have to use the equation we earlier derived. So, so to do that, so these are the two equations. So d2 is this, d1 is this. So we are going to take these those two equations. So d1 equals omega x1 squared over 2t, t2 equals omega w x2 squared over 2t. So usually in questions you will get this h distance, so you can just calculate this because you will get the height of these two conductors. Let's say this one is 50 and this one is 40, so you can calculate a h simply by uh, sub simply by reducing 50 40 from 50, so this will be 10. So for that, so we are defining this h. So h is d2 minus d1. Okay, so if you substitute these equations here, you will get w x2 squared over 2t minus w x1 squared over 2t. So we can take w over 2t outside, w over 2t x2 squared minus x1 squared, and we can have the expansion for this w x1 x2 plus x1 and x2 minus x1 over 2t. So x2 plus x1, can you guys remember what is x2 plus x1? X2 plus x1 is this length, so span. See, this is x1. So if you can refer to this figure, you will understand. So x1 plus x2 is the total span between two towers. So we can just substitute L here. So it will be WL x2 minus x1 over 2t. So this is the value of h. So now, so we need to find out what is x1 and what is x2 separately. So to do that, we are again going to use this equation x2 plus x1 equals L, and from here we are going to take x2 minus x1 to one side. So x2 minus x1 equals 2th over WL. So this is our equation A, this is our equation B. So if you add these two equations, A plus B, you will get 2x2 equals L plus 2th over WL. So x2 equals L over 2 plus 2th th over WL. So we know x2 now. So to find out x1, you can just apply x2 here. So x1 is equal L minus x2, and this will give you L over 2 minus th over WL. So now we have the positions of x1 and x2. So this is how you are going to calculate x1 and x2. Then you are going to apply those x1 and x2 values here to find out the sag for each transmission line. So and sometimes, so in these cases, in different level of supports, our sag point can be located outside the span. So what will happen is, so if our shorter tower is very short, your sag point usually lie outside the span. So you can have several, you can get several conditions to that using the equations we derived in the previous section. So you remember these two equations, and so in here the x1 is the position of sag point. So if x1 is positive, that means our sag point is within the span. So using that condition, we can derive this condition. So if the L over 2 is larger than TH over WL, our sag point will be inside the span. Inside the span means between these two towers. And if the L over 2 is equal to TH over WL, our sag point will be located on the shorter support point in here. So our sag point will be here. So it will be like a half catenary curve. So if the L over 2 is smaller than TH over WL, our sag point will be located outside of the span. Okay. Okay. So we have a small example. So actually, I need you guys to try this. So I will. So in the Senate meeting, the dean requested us to give you 5 minutes break. So I am going to give you the break now. So now it is 10:25, 24. So can you guys work this out? So you all already have all the equations, and can you guys find the D1 and D2? D1 X, first find the X1 and X2. This should be X2, X1 and X2, and then find the D1 and D2. Can you guys do that? I will have the equations here. Okay, I will write down the points you need to know. So in the example, it says the shorter tower has a height of 60 meters, and the longer tower has a height of 90 meters, and the span is 270 meters, and the tension of the conductor is 10 kilonewtons, and the weight of the conductor is 1.02 kilogram force per meter. This is kilogram force, so it is given as so you have to multiply this by G to find out the Newton value for this kilogram force, and so you have to find the clearances between the conductor and the water, and at the sag point. So you just have to find the sag. Okay, so can you guys try this? First use those equations and find the sag. So you can use this chat window to give me the answers. So the diagram is like this. This is 60 meters and this is 90 meters, and the length is 270 meters, the span, and this is the sag point, and you need to find out x1 and x2, and you will have to find out d2 and the d1. Okay, the equations are x1 equals L over 2 minus TH over WL. X2 equals L over 2 plus TH over WL. And D1 equals W x1 squared over 2t. D2 equals W x2 squared over 2t. So use those equations and find out the segs, that means D1 and D2. Tilna, can you see the document?
Sir, yeah, we can see the written one.
Okay, yeah. Can you guys find it? And I will give you time till 10:32. So can someone send me the D1 and D2 to chat window? And the I think tension T is 10 kilonewtons, and the W is 1.02 kilogram force per meter. So you need to convert these to newtons per meter. So you know G is 9.81. So use that and calculate the D1 and D2. Okay, it is 10:32. So no one answered. Okay. Okay, I will do the question. Okay, so first you need to find the x1. X1 equals L over 2 minus TH over WL. So we already have all the things we require, and T is 10 kilonewton. H is 90 minus 60 meters, and W it is given as 10.02 kg force, and we have to multiply it by 9.81. So this is newtons per meter. So after multiplying that, you will get it is 10.00, so we can take it as 10 newtons per meter. Okay. Okay, let's substitute all the things. So x1 is 270 over 2 minus t is 10,000 into h is 30 over 10 into L is 270. So if you do the calculation, so it will give you the distance to x1 as 23.88 meters, and you can find x2 by just removing this 23 from 270 to 23.88. So the value is 246.11 meters. So now we know the location of this point. So it is 23 meters from here and 271 meters from here. So now we can just apply the equations. I'll do the this part here. So d1 is w x1 squared over 2t. So w we know 10, x1 is 23.88 and squared over 2 into 10,000. The value you are going to get is it is a very small value. It is 0.01. Let's say this is S12. That means around this is in meters, so only 1.2 centimeters. That is the sag from this point. So this distance, so the distance from here is very small, only 1 centimeter. And let's find out the sag from the taller tower. So it is wx2 squared over 2t is 10 into 246.11 squared over 2 into 10,000, and this will be equal to so you can just add the h to this and it will give you the same answer. It is the difference between two towers. So this is 30.012 meters. So if you just use this equation, you will also get the same answer. 246.11 squared over 2 into 10,000. Yeah. I think this in here we have something wrong. Let's see this equation. 10 into 23.88 square over 2 into, yeah, this should be 0.285 meters. So you can just add 30 meters here, and this will be 30.285. And so we did this one also. So the answer was same. So adding 30 here also fine, or you can just do the equation and you will get the same answer. Okay. Okay, so let's move on to the next part. I'm sorry, this one is moving. Did everyone understand the calculation? If you have any questions, ask me. I'm also looking at the chat window. You can just type the question and I will answer that. Okay. So the next part is, so now we did the example 5, and the next part is minimizing the conductor cost and the loss. So in here, so we need to consider about the initial cost and the operating cost of the conductor, and so we can just use our readily available parameters to do that. So I will derive this equation, so you will understand when I'm working the question out, this part. So usually our transmission line cost, the total cost of the transmission line is we can take it as cost equal the conductor cost, or the initial cost plus the operating cost. Okay, so this initial cost is mainly depend on the conductor cross section area. So we are going to say that initial cost is proportional to CSA. So CSA is conductor, the cross section area of the conductor. So let's say this as A. So A. So the initial cost is proportional to the A. So you know from the equation for resistance, so R is rho L over A. So if the initial cost is proportional to the conductor cross section area, we are going to say it is inverse. So if the cross section area is high, our resistance is low, we are going to say our initial cost is inversely proportional to the resistance of the conductor. So this is AC resistance. So we are going to say the initial cost will be inversely proportional to the AC resistance of the conductor. And if you take the operating cost, it will include many things, but the most highest cost in a transmission line is the loss of electricity. So due to the losses of in here we can't say copper, it is aluminum, so loss of the line. So it is also the loss is also I square, is proportional to I squared R. So we can assume that our conductor is operating at the same level all the time, and I is usually constant. So R is fixed anyway. So we are going to say loss is also proportional to the R. So we can just use some constants and take initial cost as K over R. This is RAC. I'm not going to put AC here because so you guys will get confused with many characters. And in here the loss in here we can also use another constant and say loss is HR. So now we have derived the formula for total cost of the transmission line. So we can say our cost is equal to K over R plus HR. So this is actually a some equation like we derive from a lot of assumptions, but this one will give you a great advantage when designing designing the conductor with most economical resistance. So we need to minimize the cost. So what we are going to do is we are going to find the minimum minimum resistance that will have the minimum cost. So to do that, what we are going to do is we are going to get the derivative of cost using R. So we are going to find the most economical resistance of the conductor for a transmission line design. So d cost over dr will be equal to minus k over r squared. So you know a simple derivation, and this is h. So at the minimum of the function, this will be equal to 0. I think all of you can understand this. So you know in a function, so if you have a function something like this, you can't say it is just what is, you can't say the shape, but in these points it will be the minimum. So in minimum point, our dx dy over dx is equal to 0. So that is the same thing we applied here. So using this equation, we can say if the r is equal to, so we can take r to one side, and if the r is equal to k over h, I think we can say if the r is equal to k over h, we can say the cost of the line will be minimum. So that is how you are going to design the minimum, the most economical conductor for a transmission line design. So if you have any questions, you can ask me. Okay. So this is the equation. So I think everyone understood the working I did to get to this point. Okay. So after evaluating this, so okay, so now we have to so you know in the operation cost, uh, you know there's a loss of electricity every year, but there's something called net present value. So I think you have learned about these things in the engineering management. And so if you spend $500 in the future, that $500 in that year will not have the same value as today. So when you are doing these kind of calculations, so you need to also include net present value of the uh, transmission line loss. So let's say we have a $500 loss per year, and we are considering a 20-year time period with 6% discount rate. So we have something called discount rate. I think you know about these things from the management. And the amount we are actually we are losing will be $10,000 over 20 years. But from today's value, that $10,000 will not equal to exactly $10,000. It will be something less. So to find out that value, we can use this equation. So this is the cumulative net present value equation. So I do not need you to calculate net present values to each year and find out the total of that and apply it in the examination paper. You can just use this cumulative equation and find out the cost, operating cost or the loss throughout years. So this is very straightforward. I think you already know this equation. So so if you are losing 500 per year for 20 years, the total cost is 10,000, but the net present value of that cost is only 5,700. So that's how you do the calculation. And we have an assignment question, so you need to submit this to the course web. I will put a link, and I will guide you. I will give you few hints how to do this, and you need to complete that and upload it to the course web. Okay, so in here, so they are saying you need to select the most cost effective conductor for a 100 megawatt line with 132 kV voltage. It is a single circuit line. Single circuit line means only 3 conductors. You can ignore the earth conductor because earth conductor is very less expensive when compared with the overhead line. So they're asking us to consider 20-year time frame, and the cost of 1 megawatt hour is $60, and cost to install conductors. This also includes the tower cost is $20 per kg. So you I think you have idea about how is the weight of these conductors. So if you like, you may see this is as a small amount, but it is actually not. And so these are the things we have given, and they're asking us to consider 1 kilometer span, 1 kilometer cable length, not the span, a cable length for this calculation, and assume a discount rate of 6%. Okay, so I have also given you the steps because I'm not going to do a very I'm not going to explain this very much because I need to assess you on this. So the first, you need to find the load current. So you everyone know how to find the load current, right? So I will do that calculation. So because it is not a very good okay. So in the question, they are saying it is a 100 megawatt line and the voltage is 132 kV, and you need to find out the load current. So very easy. I 100 into 10 to the power 6 over root 3 into 132 to 6. So this will give you, I think this is 3. Tilena, did you guys learn about conductor voltage sizing and all in the Timotheus lectures?
For the yes, sizing was
Okay. So in here, so you will get a value. Okay, the current conductor current is 437.4 amperes. So what you need to do is you are going to select a appropriate. So we are going to estimate a minimum cost. So for the initial steps, you do not need any of the calculations you did in the previous lectures. You just need to find a conductor which can carry that load current. So we found the load current, and now we are going to just select a conductor to support that load current. Okay, so to do that, what we have to do is, so let's say this is 437.4, and from these equations, from these tables, we are going to find out a conductor that can carry for 437 in still air without air. So when the air is there, there's some cooling, so the current capacity increases. And so in here, we can take this nitrogen conductor. So you can take any conductor and find out the, so we have the weight and all, and find out the total cost of initial cost. So after finding out the initial cost, so you can find this. So the initial cost is K over R. So after finding the initial cost means the conductor cost. In here, I didn't use the term initial cost. So the initial cost is K over R. So you can find K. Then find the loss for that conductor using the resistance, AC resistance, and find the H. So after finding K and H, you can estimate the R and H, R from those two values, and it will give you a most appropriate resistance for this transmission line. So then you are again going to this table and finding out what is the closest resistance to that conductor from this table, and use that conductor to reevaluate the cost. So how you are going to reevaluate the cost? So this is the cost equation. So after estimating K and H from the first conductor, you can use same values and find out the cost. So you will see a very big difference if when you are doing the design cost wise. So refer to examples in internet also, and do this and upload it to the COSEP link I am going to publish in near future. So you can just use a A4 sheet and write the answers and scan it and submit, or you can do it in a word document explaining how these things are going to work. And I will give you some grade for that, because this module has 60% CA, so this will carry some amount of that 60% to your final grade. So I think you all can do this. This is very easy, so do not worry about the calculations. Everything is explained in here, so if you read this carefully, you can do this. And for the next week, we have 2 lectures for this mechanical design. We are going to derive all the catenary equations, and there's something called wind and ice loading. So I told you earlier that tension is due to the weight and the forces acting on the conductor, but when there's wind and ice, there are some additional forces acting on the conductor. So we are going to learn about those things in the next lecture. So we will see them in the next lecture. So if you guys have any questions, you can ask questions now. If you need to clarify anything, ask now, or you can use email or WhatsApp, or just message me. I will answer. Okay, so if you have any questions, ask me now. You can also use the chat window. I will answer for that. Do you guys have any questions? Okay, seems anyone is typing. I can't see, right? Okay, if you have any questions, you can contact me. I think you all everyone, I think I have uploaded my contact details to COSEP page. So do the assignment. Probably I will ask you to submit that on this Friday, upcoming Friday. And so do that. And if you need to clarify anything, call me. Okay. Okay. So now I'm going to stop the lecture, so we can wind up now.